Welcome, everybody. I'm Paula Ludwig with the Atlantic Institute. We are an organization that is all about promoting positive dialogue between different faiths, cultures, religions, meeting your next door neighbor. We believe with more dialogue and understanding, we'll have a peaceful world, which is our vision. I am going to show you a short 2-minute video about the Atlantic Institute, and then we'll get started. And of course, I didn't bring it up. Hang on just a second. I apologize. I always have too much stuff on my screen. There we go.
The Atlantic Institute is a nonprofit organization dedicated to promoting harmonious coexistence between peoples of various cultures, faiths, and backgrounds. We seek this goal through peaceful dialogue, education initiatives, and community organization. Our dialogue events bring together experts, community and faith leaders, and knowledge seekers to address social issues that affect us all. We feel dialogue is the most
Recording in progress.
Peaceful coexistence. So we try and maintain several panel discussions, TED Talk events, and book clubs throughout the year. These events touch on social issues, race relations, and cultural understanding, and are a mainstay of our program. The Atlantic Institute's education events are extremely important to our mission of understanding. We want to promote socially forward critical thinking to students of all ages. To that end, we have developed programs that seek to grow the creative spirit of students and help them think about their communities and the world around them. Our Future Leaders of Dialogue event brings together nominated elite students to learn from each other as well as political and business leaders. Our art and essay contest gives students a theme about important societal issues and allows them to create wonderful works of art and writing while steering their minds towards improving their world. We're always seeking ways to educate youth and adults in order to make a peaceful world for all of us. Our community events are designed to transform neighbors into friends and groups of people into a community. By associating with other nonprofits or by our own initiative, we are always trying to discover new avenues to improve our neighborhoods, places of worship, and community centers. We host cooking demonstrations of food from other cultures, work with various nonprofits to help elevate the work of others, and try to find a way to make the lives of those who are disenfranchised or marginalized better. Building a more peaceful world starts in our backyards, so we are dedicated to improving our communities and associations. The Atlantic Institute is always seeking like-minded volunteers and collaborators. If you would like to learn more, find volunteer opportunities, or just want to chat with our staff, please visit our website at www.atlanticinstitutesc.org or follow us on Facebook. We will never run out of fun, educational, peaceful events. So come, join us to help make this world a better place full of understanding and unity.
All right. So we are always looking for volunteers. Also, we are hiring more independent planners, program coordinators. And right now we are looking for people in the Pacific time zone in the US. Later on next year, we are hoping to go internationally, but right now we are doing just the US. So if you're interested, you can email me, or I'm sorry, you can put your email address to just me in the chat, and I can send you more information tomorrow. So I am now going to turn this over to Tabitha. And she is one of those people who just came on and is doing a wonderful job. So Tabitha, it's your turn.
Thank you. Yes, I'm Tabitha. Thank you everyone for joining us today on our session in November, which, as you all know, is Native American Heritage Month. And this is a time to celebrate the contributions, cultures, and histories of Native American communities and Indigenous people. It's also a time to acknowledge the injustices and challenges that these communities have endured and continue to face. And by learning about this large topic, we can learn from wisdoms of these communities, and we can learn how to support their efforts to protect their lands, their rights, and conserve important resources for us and this land. And that's why I'm so excited today to be joined with Ashley Mueller. She's the education coordinator for the Native American Fish and Wildlife Society. And she is in charge of programming there. And I have a few links in chat I'm going to drop here for you to explore some of that. She earned her bachelor's degree in fish, wildlife, and conservation biology, and her master's degree in conservation leadership. So I'm really excited about that. She's going to share with us a little about herself, some insights into the support structure around conservation efforts, which are very important. And she mentioned in her bio that she's a hot Cheeto fan. I'm also a hot Cheeto fan. I don't know if you're a fry hot Cheeto fan or a regular hot Cheeto fan, but I like the spiciness. So please join me in welcoming to our stage today, Ashley Mueller.
Yeah, day Bene, everyone. It's good to see you. Let me get my presentation set here for you all. Can everyone hear me okay? Yes, okay, I see a nod there. All right. Awesome, thank you, Tabitha. Yeah, day shike do shidene she Ashley Mueller inishe. Chitney Nishlin, Toy Gleany, Bushes Chin, Tora Chitney Dasha Che, Saint Nut Jenny Dashanella, a good ego dene, a star Nishlin, Tohachi, Kehashit, Fort Collins, De Nasha. Hello, my friends and my relatives. My name is Ashley Mueller. I was born for the Red Running Into the Water People clan. I was born into the Water Flows Together People clan. My mom's dad, or my grandpa, or my chiche, is of the Bitter Water clan. My dad's dad, so my papa, or my nale, is of the Black Sheik Wood People clan. And this way, I am a Navajo woman. I am from Tehachapi, New Mexico, but currently am living in Fort Collins, Colorado. So that's my introduction. I'm gonna just kind of go a little outline a little bit about me. I'm gonna talk a little bit about tribal management, kind of what that looks like, as well as give some insight and let you all know about what my organization does that I work for, the Native American Fish and Wildlife Society, or NAFWS, and then hopefully at the end we'll have some times for questions and comments. One of the big things I want to just say is that when we introduce ourselves, that's a way to be able to ground ourselves, as well as to let people know who I am, where my family is from, and where my relations are. So that's kind of one of the reasons why I have a little more of a long-winded introduction. All right. So I grew up on the Navajo Reservation in a small community called Tehachapi, New Mexico, near the Four Corners area. I am a citizen of the Navajo Nation. I went to Colorado State University, so go Rams. I graduated in 2017 with my bachelor's degree, and then 2019 with my master's degree. I am currently in Fort Collins, and I have been with the Native American Fish and Wildlife Society since December of 2019. So pretty fairly new a little bit. And here's just a photo of myself with a baby black bear in Menominee Nation, rocking my CSU hat there. All right, so I want to start with some questions for you all. So if you can put in the chat, how many U.S. federally recognized tribes are there? How many do you think? Anyone could take a guess? Oh yeah, 374. Anyone else want to put a guess in there? That's a good guess, Susie? Over 300. Here we go. A little more than 6, Teresa. Good job. Good guesses. Anyone else? I'll wait for one more, then I'll show the answer. 100. All right. Good guess, everyone. Thank you. Sorry, Suze. All right. Let's see our answer, huh? There is 574 recognized tribes within the United States. Alrighty. Next question. Anyone want to guess which state has the most federally recognized tribes? Which of the U.S. state has the most federally recognized tribes within it? Anyone want to take a guess there? New Mexico, That's a good guess. Arizona, no. Good guess. Ohio, no. Let's have one more guess, huh? Good job, everybody. California, close. All right. Let's get that answer out there, huh? Is Alaska. So Alaska has 231 federally recognized tribes and villages within Alaska. Only a couple of them do have land-based reservations, so that's where it can look a little bit different. Like for New Mexico, for example, is home to one of the biggest land-based reservations, which is the Navajo Reservation, right? So I think Navajo Nation has the biggest land-based reservation out of all of the tribes. And then followed by that is California. So that's close. So California has 109 tribes or rancherias within the state. So good job, everybody. Thank you for participating. My little poll there. So one big things I want to talk about is tribal fish and wildlife management. I don't want to say I want to generalize tribal fish and wildlife management, but in a way, just kind of give more of an overview, and just understanding that, again, all tribes are different, all cultures are different, and all tribal fish and wildlife management techniques and land bases all look different. So with that, we'll talk a little bit about tribal lands. So tribal lands make about 140 million acres, right? And within that, there's more than 730,000 acres of lakes and reservoirs. There's about 10,000 miles of streams and rivers on tribal lands. And then there's 18 million acres of commercial forests that are housed within tribal lands. And this is all communitively. That's also checkerboarded land, meaning that it's not just like a nice pie of land, right? It's like pieces of the pie belongs to the federal agencies. There's some pieces of the pie, some holes here and there that belong to the U.S. To the state agencies, and then there's some private land sprinkled in there. So sometimes it can get really hard in terms of management because tribes, they can they manage the land up to this river. After that river, it's state land. But then if you go on this trail on the other side, there's federal land. So that's kind of what we mean by checkerboarded land in terms of management, and how that can be difficult in terms of managing specifically wildlife that don't know boundaries, right? Another big thing is land type. So there's trust land, there's individual allotments. Oh, sorry, I see a typo there. Individual allotments, there's deeded land, and then there's also public domain land. So there's all these different kind of land types within tribal lands. And then also tribal nations influence and manage cumulatively more land than National Park Service. So that's just kind of shows how massive of a land area that tribal nations all kind of manage and co-manage. Okay, so kind of one of the big things I want to go through is just kind of maybe some landmark court cases, and just kind of talking about, how did tribal fish and wildlife management kind of develop? So one of the big ones is Menominee Tribe of Indians versus the United States. So the U.S. Supreme Court, the result of this upheld hunting and fishing rights granted by the Wolf River Treaty, saying that it survived the Termination Act of 1954. So at some point, the United States had the Termination Act of 1954, and kind of what some of that resulted in was, I guess, taking back a lot of the lands that were granted to the tribes before then. So terminating any kind of land ownership from the tribe. So within this Menominee court case here, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld those fishing rights that were at first given through the Wolf River Treaty, so that it allowed Menominee tribe and tribal members to be able to hunt and fish in that area and have the right to do that. So that's one of the big landmark cases. Our second and third landmark court cases is kind of also related to that. So we have White Mountain Apache versus the state of Arizona Department of Game and Fish. And we also have the Confederated Tribes of the Colville Indian Reservation up in Washington versus the state of Washington. And what these kind of two court cases were related to were that the tribe was able to pursue a market opportunity to hunt and fish on lands to non-native. So meaning that the tribe has the jurisdiction and the sovereignty to say to a non-native or non-tribal citizen that say, you know, we're going to allow you to hunt on our lands, but you have to purchase, I don't know, a $50 fishing permit or a $150 elk permit. And so what this court case allowed was that it allowed the tribe to be able to do that and to be able to benefit from that market opportunity, to be able to allow non-native or non-tribal citizen to be able to hunt on the tribal land. So again, it gives that sovereignty and that power to the tribe to be able to make those decisions and to be able to benefit from these market opportunities. Okay, another big thing is funding. So if we can talk about, you know, when we start talking about conservation projects, a lot of these conservation projects, restoration projects, all require money. So one of the big things and the biggest challenge, and I think not only for tribes, but also for a lot of conservation efforts, is funding, right? So finding the adequate amount of funding to be able to maintain capacity, as well as to be able to implement any kind of big conservation projects within a land area, within a wildlife population, fish population. So a lot of tribes, well, actually all the tribes, they do not have access to the Pittman-Robertson or Dingell-Johnson funds. So what Pittman-Robertson is, and Dingell-Johnson is that it's legislation that from the taxes of fishing equipment, guns, bullets, when all of that gets gathered up, you know, through the United States, when people are coming into the sports stores and going to Cabela's and like buying a thing of bullets, that bullet tax money kind of goes into a bigger pot of money, and each year that pot of money is divvied out to the states to fund their conservation efforts, right? So that's a lot of money going in and being divvied up to the states for their conservation efforts. So the tribes don't get any of that that Pittman-Robertson or Dingell-Johnson money. So in 2021, there was about $415 million that was distributed to the states and the territories, and there was $0 going to the tribes. So this is, again, is one of the contributors to the funding challenge that tribes face. So with that, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service did establish in 2001 the TWIG program, or the Tribal Wildlife Grant Program. It is in a competitive award, so you have a lot of different 574 tribes. About 300 of those tribes have land-based reservations, so they all want to you know, submit grants to be able to receive money, but they're competing with one another to receive that money from this TWIG program. So sometimes there's tribes that don't want to apply because they'll feel bad that they'll be taking money from other tribes that may also be applying for that money. So it's a competitive program and a competitive award that was established in 2001. So kind of a lot of the funding that tribes use for their conservation efforts, it comes from the TWIG program if they had applied and received a grant, from other grants that they may have received. If the tribe has a casino, some of that casino revenue gets distributed into the conservation efforts, their hunting and fishing licenses that they have on their land, and also some land lease fees. So these are kind of the different kinds of avenues of revenue for the tribes to be able to fund whatever conservation efforts that they are implementing or that they are planning to do. All right, and of course, all tribes are different. They have different amounts of land, different amounts of management, and also the diversity of land and programs, right? So each tribe is unique and individual. You'll have some tribes that have a conservation department or a natural resource department that only has one employee, and that one employee is their conservation law enforcement officer, or a CLEO. Then you have some tribes where they have more than 200 employees within their specific conservation or natural resource department, right? So it's kind of really different, and it's on a huge spectrum. So, for example, like Kalispell Tribe of Indians in Washington, they have a great program, a great natural resource department, and they have they have a good amount of employees, versus, the Shoshone and sorry, I'm blanking their name right now. Shoshone and Arapaho Fish and Wildlife Department. I think they have like less than 5 employees, and they have a huge land area. So, that's it's really different, and tribes are facing different challenges in regards to natural resource and natural resource management. Another big thing is they may have one division, so it's just an environmental department, or it's just a natural resource department, or they can also have many divisions. So within the natural resource department, they have research, they have their fisheries department, they have their hatcheries, they have their cultural preservation departments, all housed within within the conservation department. So again, it's really different, or each tribe is different in terms of what their tribal fish and wildlife management looks like, as well as what their specific department looks like that does and carry those management actions and efforts. All right, so that's a little bit of I guess more of an overview of tribes and tribal fish and wildlife, and kind of what different things that are different between all the tribes in regarding to natural resource. So now I'm going to go ahead and move into the organization that I am blessed to be a part of. So the Native American Fish and Wildlife Society, our mission is to assist Native American and Alaska Native tribes with the conservation, protection, and enhancement of their fish and wildlife resources and their lands and programs. So we're an organization. We are filled with about we have 20 staff. When I started, I was actually the 4th staff employed. So we are definitely growing since 2019. In FWS, we have 7 regions. So we have our Pacific region. In orange, we have our Great Plains, our Great Lakes, our Northeast, our Southeast. We have our Southwest here, and then we have our Alaska region. Does anyone know why we won't have a Hawaii region? Anyone want to take a stab at that question? Why is Hawaii, or why do we not have a region in Hawaii? Anyone? Okay, so the reason why we don't have a Hawaii region is because, yep, so Hawaii does not have any federally recognized tribes. There's no federally recognized tribes in Hawaii. And I know that Hawaii and Native Hawaiians are having their own challenges in terms of sovereignty and what that looks like. But that's the reason why that we don't have a region in Hawaii, is because our organization serves federally recognized tribes, right? So since there's none in Hawaii, we don't have a Hawaii region. That may look different in the future, but I am not sure what that would entail. So here's our 7 regions. Each of our 7 regions, we have 2 board of directors for each of the regions. So here is a photo from last Christmas. We are a fun group, I will say. But we have our board of directors here. We meet twice a year, all in person. So most of our staff are remote. And there's 4 full-time staff right now that are our national office. Our national office is in North Glen, Colorado, or in North Denver. The remainder of our staff are sprinkled across the United States. So we have an Alaska team up in Alaska. We have a couple people in Arizona and in New Mexico, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Montana. We have some people up in Oregon. So our staff is sprinkled across the United States, as well as our board of directors. And let's see, I feel like I was going to say another detail, but I don't remember what it was. But yeah, here we are, our smiling faces. Our team is continuing to grow. Each year we establish initiatives, so kind of what we're going to put all of our focus on in terms of programming and in training. So This year's initiatives was climate resilience and adaptation. So that's really huge within our Alaska team is working on this. It's providing a lot of climate adaptation training, climate adaptation planning, as well as putting any kind of webinars together. A lot of it focuses on looking at the Alaska state legislative kind of systems and policies in regards to Alaska Native tribes and climate change and how climate change is impacting those different villages. So a lot of our Alaska team is working on this initiatives specifically. We have an invasive species, so a lot of tribes, and of course everywhere else there's a lot of invasive species. And we have an invasive species program that's led by Mitzi Reed, our invasive species coordinator, and she's working with a team to put together a lot of these resources, funding resources, information resources, program resources for tribes that are looking to minimize the amount of invasive species within their lands and their land areas, because there may be a threat to just the environment and the biological diversity in general, but also they can be a threat to some of the cultural plants, cultural animals. So that's what that program focuses on. There's also RAWA. So I don't know if any of you all have heard of that legislation that's trying to make its way to or through the White House. So RAWA is the Recovering America's Wildlife Act. RAWA is going to be a great and big game changer for tribes, because in the beginning I had mentioned that tribes don't receive the Pittman Robertson or Dingle Johnson funding. So what RAWA will do is that it will dedicate about $97 million annually to tribes as base funding each year. So that will be able to help tribes build capacity within their natural resource departments, as well as being able to carry out some of those conservation efforts that they need to carry out. So that's RAWA, and that's one of their initiatives. We've had a couple fly-ins with our board of directors, as well as our executive director, Julie Thorstensen, to go to the White House to kind of talk about the need for RAWA. We have our Tribal Conservation Law Enforcement Officer Program Enhancement, or Tribal CLEO. So we also organize training specifically for CLEO. So to be a CLEO officer, you have to keep your badge and also your certifications. You have to have a certain amount of hours of training each year to be able to have your certifications and be qualified in the work that you're doing. So we provide a lot of those trainings. We have trainings that focus around drone training, open air shooter training that has been done, hazmat awareness or hazard materials training, wildlife forensics training. So those are the kind of trainings that we help put together and organize for the tribe. So we will pick a location, have the training, and it's either at a low cost or zero cost for the tribes to send their conservation law enforcement officers to be able to maintain their CLEO status. We have our habitat connectivity initiative. So that's a big program that Shaylin Wickman, she's our wildlife connectivity coordinator, and she's working with a lot of tribes to be able to navigate the different legislations, navigate fundings around habitat connectivity, specifically looking at tribal wildlife corridors, so like overpasses, underpasses, and there's a lot of tribes working on wanting to provide underpasses and overpasses for the different wildlife that they have. There's Salish and Kootenai tribes up in Washington. They have one of the biggest overpasses in the United States for their elk herd. There's also the Southern Ute in near Durango, Colorado, that just opened and had a ceremony for their overpass and their underpass for their elk herd. And also Prairie Island Indian Community is working on some habitat connectivity for their tortoise population or their turtle population. So a lot of great work happening with tribes regarding habitat connectivity. And finally, our initiative is our wildlife health initiative. And here we have hired an amazing and great, smart, intelligent veterinarian, Dr. Talani Francisco. She's from Laguna Pueblo, and she's kind of like the call a friend thing, where she is a vet. So when there's a tribe, up in Washington, and they're facing a lot of hoof rot within their ungulate species, they'll call Dr. Talani and ask her, what are ways and strategies we can be able to minimize hoof rot? How do we manage this? And then she'll provide them with all the different tools and information that they need to be able to manage these different wildlife health diseases and issues. She just finished up her webinar series called One Health, so talking about how does wildlife management connect with public health. So she talked about CWD, she talked about marijuana farms and how they can affect wildlife and humans, and all that kind of good stuff. So these are kind of the main initiatives that we focus on as an organization. And they
This is
change.
great. I'm wondering if I could interrupt for a moment and ask a question
Yeah.
from the chat that I think is kind of important. What is the difference between a tribe and a nation?
So I want to say this is where it gets kind of tricky because I think now, like, I like to say nation because, well, I guess they're kind of interchangeable, but a lot of people I think are moving towards using the vocabulary as nation because it's saying it gives more of like the sovereignty backing behind it, if that makes sense. So for example, when I introduce myself, I don't say I'm a tribal member of the Navajo Nation. I say I'm a tribal citizen of the Navajo Nation. So, right, to be a member of something, you have a common interest. You may pay your monthly dues. You may pay your annual, Netflix membership fee, right? So that's different than saying I'm a citizen, saying like I belong, to this nation. This is my background. This is who I am, and it ties more into identity rather than an interest. Does that make sense?
It
I hope I answered.
absolutely does. Yes,
Okay.
thank you for clarifying. That's
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the big things I've been encouraging a lot of our students to, when they're introducing themselves and talking about, what nation they're a citizen of, is saying they're a citizen rather than a member because, words, they change things. Um, Another big thing that we do is, or I guess, is that okay?
Oh
Mhm.
yeah, that's great.
Okay,
Thank
perfect.
you. I wasn't sure too if it did tie into um, some of the ways that funding is dispersed and things like that. We also have another question about that, so we'll talk about it a little bit
Okay,
later. So that was great. Thank you.
okay, perfect. Thank you. All right, another big thing that we do is our regional and national conferences. So we have those 7 regions, right, where I showed you all the map. Each of those regions has a regional conference to be able to bring a lot of the tribal natural resource professionals within that area. Also, there's a lot of state agencies and federal agency employees come as well to listen. And it just provides a space for tribal natural resource professionals to come together and share a lot of the amazing work that they're working on, share the challenges and share ideas. A cool thing about our conferences is that it prioritizes and it focuses on presentations by tribal professionals as lecturers and speakers. So I know sometimes when we think about conferences, we think about, all the professors, the faculty, and sometimes um, or within our conferences, it's different because we bring in the on the ground people. So the people that are going in out in the field, they're the ones that are collecting data. They're the ones that are able to come and share, what they see, the projects, the importance of those projects. And we're not only bringing like the tribal councilman or the tribal president, or the tribal admin people, we're bringing in on the ground people to talk about these great, amazing projects that are happening within their tribal lands or within their tribal nations. We do some workshops within those conferences and trainings. We give regional national updates as well as regional national awards. So again, recognizing the amazing people that are doing amazing and great work. It's a great place for networking. We also do our best to include a traditional feast from the tribe that is hosting the regional conference. We have a banquet. We have a conservation law enforcement officer shoot competition. So a lot of the regions, they're CLEO officers different tribes within the region come together. They go through a shoot competition regionally, then the top shooters, they go and attend the national conference and they all compete. Just like a fun thing to do for the Cleos. We have also natural resource tours. So a lot of those tours are focused on highlighting the conservation projects and efforts that the host tribe is doing. And then lastly, we do have travel scholarships and travel assistance available for travel. And again, definitely dependent on funding. It differs each year. But every year I've been on, we've been able to award specifically college students within the natural resources that want to attend our conferences. And again, we have regional and our national conference. Our national conference is going to be May 13th through the 16th in Welch, Minnesota. It's hosted by Prairie Island Indian Community. And it's, if you are interested and want to learn more about tribal wildlife management or what are the kind of different conservation efforts happening on tribal lands, I highly suggest, if you can, to attend a national conference, to go and listen and hear what great things that are happening on Indian country. We also do some trainings and events. So some examples here is we've hosted a tribal wildlife corridors workshop, which is the photo here on the left side of the screen. That's at Southern Ute Reservation. They had just opened their overpass for their wildlife population down there. For our Cleos, we had their exterior response to active shooter events training. Really important training for our officers out there that are protecting our wildlife as well as our tribal citizens and nations. Also, we have some trainings focused on and for biologists. So we have eDNA electrofishing training. We've done a bat workshop that was held in partnership with Yakima Nation in Washington. We've done some NEPA training, chemical immobilization training, ART training to help and assist tribal natural resource professionals working on collecting and analyzing data of the data that I have collected. And then finally, the Native Women in Ag and Natural Resource Symposium that just started this year, and we're planning to host again next year. Again, providing specifically that symposium is dear to my heart because I organized it with my sister. But we were able to bring a lot of Native women together within these sectors and careers and provide a safe space to be able to talk about different challenges that women may face, specifically maybe Native women. So we talked about murdered and missing Indigenous relatives. So we had a self-defense course within the symposium. We highlighted some Native women that are doing great work with their tribes or for their tribes, as well as providing some professional development opportunities for specifically for Native women, like salary negotiation. So these are kind of just examples of some trainings and events that we have done this year. And there's definitely a lot more that we have done in the previous years. And kind of what I do is more of the education and outreach programs. So I organize our National Summer Youth Practicum, which is one of the oldest youth programs that we have. Our youth programs are specifically for high school students in terms of the national SYP. All the other programs that we have is geared towards our early career professionals. So our natural resource Native scholars are in college right now earning their natural resources degree. We provide programs specifically for I guess that age/professional group when we were talking about the education programs. So we have scholarships that we award to students. We have internships. The internships that we provide are remote, and we try to connect the student with wherever they are living at that time. We try to connect them with a local tribe to do a ride along or to do some data collection with the tribal wildlife biologists or the wildlife technicians. We also organize a conservation law enforcement ride along so they can learn about the law enforcement side of conservation. We encourage them to attend a tribal council meeting to kind of see how it is to be in that environment of community, as well as talking through decision and decision making for the community, specifically for the tribal community. And they're paid internships, and again, they're remote. They're usually during the summertime. We have our conferences. So one of the big things is that we've had our members. So we are a member-based organization. anyone can be a member, as long as you just renew your membership. It's $50 a year. But as part of our conferences, we did have our membership come up to us and ask more about how can we increase our engagement for our early career professionals. So one of the big things that we've been trying to do is, one, the travel scholarship to attend the conference, as well as the poster session. So we have a poster session for students to be able to submit their posters and gain presentation skills and presenting their posters about their research, or about a conservation project they were working on, or even like their internship opportunity. They can share that with us as well. It doesn't have to be specifically research, but it can be different projects or programs that they have been a part of that they can present about. And finally, we have a professional development webinar series. We hold these each month. This month is we talked about social media and how to use social media to be able to help tribes to recruit Native youth to participate in a lot of their programs or opportunities that they may have. This upcoming month, we're going to talk about a leadership plan. We have Jill, she's one of the faculty members for the National Conservation Leadership Institute, or NCLI, that takes place at the National Conservation Training Center in Virginia. So she's coming, she's going to talk about leadership with our audience and with our attendees. But these are kind of the programs that I am the I guess the head lead on in organizing. Another big thing that we have that's new this year is our Tribal Hunter Education Program. And this is a huge and a big deal because we had, again, a member, she's pictured here, from one of the Sioux tribes. And she said, when we do these hunter safety training for our tribal citizens or our tribal youth, it pains me to see that we host the class, and then the hunter safety card that the students receive has to be signed by the state, when we're the ones that had put it on and had done the teaching, provided the instruction and the instructors, and then the state is the one that has to sign it. So NFWS, we took this challenge. This is Sean Cross, our biologist here, and he applied with International Hunters Education Association World. So now tribes are able to use this program to be able to use their sovereignty to implement the same hunter education curriculum based within to be able to meet the elements for the IHEA hunter safety course. Plus, tribes are able to include any kind of new elements, where that could be like a cultural element within the hunter safety curriculum. And then also tribes are able to distinguish if they want to do a hybrid course. They could do an in-person course or a completely online course, to be able to provide this education as well as the hunter safety certification for their tribal citizens, their tribal youth, their tribal students, or even there's some tribes that host hunters education classes for tribal citizens as well. So this is a huge thing that is kind of building up. We have some tribes that are signed up and are now able to sign their own hunter's education card to give to the student that completed the certification, and it has the tribe's seal on it, on the thing. So it's not the state seal, it's going to be the tribe seal. So huge win for tribal sovereignty, and then also an example of what tribal sovereignty can look like. Yeah. All right, so here is all of our social media platforms that we are on, and I also believe Tabitha had shared that in the chat. I think if we have a little bit of time, I'm going to show some cool TikTok videos. So this is our Summer Youth Practicum here. It's a week-long program for Native youth across the country that can apply. That's for Native high school students. We fly them into Denver. Our staff, we go pick them up. We spend time at the Carr State University Mountain Campus, where we're able to engage with the students and also talk to them about natural resource careers and career paths. We talk about tribal fish and wildlife management specifically. We talk about the different and cool, great projects that tribes are doing on their tribal lands. We provide professional development sessions such as resume building, networking. We also sometimes some students haven't had the opportunity to tour a university or to look more into higher education or secondary education, what that may look like. So we provide them with the some skills and tools to be able to help them seek out what college or university that they may want to apply to. They also tour CSU, specifically their Warner College, and also their Native American Culture Center, and again to learn about, how do I ask a college what kind of resources they have specifically for Native students. So we kind of spend that week together learning, and engaging in natural resources and specifically tribal natural resources. So here's a little video of this year's Summer Youth Practicum.
Yeah, I'm living my better days. My life on cruise control, hitting that easy road. Blacks don't ever stop me. Only one way to grow, you've gotta let it go. See that silver lining. I got all that I need, ain't no baggage underneath. Took my frown and turned it upside down. Now I'm singing like la 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 la. Yeah, I'm living my better days. Yeah, I'm living. Yeah, I'm living. Yeah, I'm living my.
So that is our Summer Youth Practicum, just like a little glimpse of our week. And then also, I had the privilege and opportunity to be able to hang out with Menominee in Wisconsin they have a great bear project that they have been working on for years. And I was able to hang out with them and learn about their bear management and their data collection. So here's one more TikTok and then I'll be done for questions. And then we'll be ready for questions. Oh. Ooh. That's a bear day.
Deep is so secret. Trust you to keep on hiding the words that I cannot say. I got what you wanted. I got what you needed. It's all in the way that you say my name.
Awesome. And with that, thank you. Here is my cell phone. I am currently remote. So if y'all have any questions or you want to reach out, the best way to do that right now is with my cell phone. As well, here's my email, and I will go ahead and stop sharing. And also, again, thank you all so much. Akihat to Tabitha for organizing everything and inviting me to come and present to you all. It was a great time.
Thank you so much for sharing your information with us. I was so happy when you had some time. I don't know if you saw in the chat, we had a couple questions come through. I'm going to scroll up for a second here. I have I thought this was a pretty interesting question. Is there at least one tribe in every state, in each state?
No. So for example, Hawaii doesn't have any tribes within the state. Let's see who else is there. I think Indiana and Ohio may not have any tribes within the state. Because most of Idaho has tribes, Washington, most of the western states have tribes. A lot of the northeast area, some of the states up that way don't have tribes. Like New York has a tribe, Maine has a tribe, Penobscot Nation, and I believe Micmac is up in Maine area. I don't think New Jersey has a tribe within the state.
Wow,
That's a good question. Yeah.
that's a great question. I see my hair is turned into the fish a little bit. Okay, let's see. I lost the question I saw up here. Let me scroll up for a second. Thanks. Oh, how is the size of the conservation department determined? Is it by the tribe population or the land area, etc.?
I'm gonna say it's probably both that can fit into that. But it's hard to say because, for example, it's called the Wind River Reservation, but the tribes that co-manage the Wind River Reservation is Arapaho and Shoshone. So they're a really unique situation. So Wind River is like a huge reservation in Wyoming, and they only have less. I believe they only have like 5 conservation employees, and that they had to be determined by both the Arapaho and Shoshone tribes because they co-manage that land area. So that's how they determine. Plus, a lot of it's based on if the tribe is able to sustain capacity in terms of employees, right? So Salish Kootenai, or sorry, not Salish, Kalispel tribe of Indians in Washington, they have a smaller land reservation area compared to Wind River, but they have I think well over 100 employees managing their conservation department. And a lot of that's because they say not say sorry Kalispel, I think, get a lot of money from some of the hydropower that they have on their lands. So they have that money, right, to be able to sustain those employees. And then you have some tribes where they do have, like Modoc Nation, they just got land in Oklahoma, and they're starting to actually build their conservation department, and I believe they only have 1 employee, and their land area is tiny. So it's really different, and it depends on the tribe. It depends on, of course, the amount of money that they're able to fund an employee or employees in that capacity, as well as, again, land area. Like Navajo Nation, I think they may only have 5 conservation law enforcement officers, and they have to
Wow.
patrol a huge land of area. Like Wind River, they have a huge amount of area in Wyoming as well, but I believe they only have 2 conservation law enforcement officers to patrol that whole area. And a lot of times, Cleos, they should be the one, or usually they're the ones out there checking the hunting permits, checking the fishing permits. But a lot of times, the tribe needs help with the domestic cases within, tribal housing, within mainly tribal housing, to be able to be a security guard at the tribal courts. So sometimes those conservation law enforcement will get called to do those kind of things, or animal control. So it's really different, and it really, again, depends on the tribe and what they're able to sustain in terms of employing somebody to do the conservation work. Yep.
That's amazing. I'm curious, and a question in chat too. For these nations, this is a little bit side, but do you hold a dual citizenship then in those circumstances, or maybe how does that work?
So you won't have a dual citizenship. And it's interesting because there's some citizens out there where, let's say, I'm Navajo and I married someone from Lakota, and we have our child, right? So they should be half Navajo and half Lakota. There's some tribes, I think Lakota and Navajo, they allow you to have our child to have like a dual citizenship for Navajo and for Lakota. But there's some tribes, they don't allow you to do that. They'll tell you have to pick one, and you have to enroll within that tribe. So I think Modoc Nations like that. They say even though you're half Navajo and half Modoc, you either will enroll with them, you can't enroll with us, or you enroll with us and you can't enroll with them. So it's really different. And again, it really depends on the tribe. Like Modoc, I don't think allows that. Navajo Nation, I believe they do. You're allowed to be able to have like a dual citizenship. But in terms of the United States, we're like a United States citizen.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for that clarification. Um, let's see here. We did get some information. It looks like Indiana does have a native
Okay.
tribe. So that's
Kind of thought they did, but I
that's
think
great
Ohio
information.
doesn't.
Pardon?
I think it might be Ohio. There's some, I know some Northeast states don't have tribes within them. Or there's some states where they don't have any federally recognized tribes, but they may have state recognized tribes. So that also is different.
Wow, it's very complex. It's certainly a diverse group of communities, really.
Mhm.
I think that's an important thing to notice, definitely. I'm scanning the chat here for any other questions.
Yeah.
We're getting pretty close to that time. I really appreciate your insight. Ashley, this has been so awesome. I loved hearing about all this stuff. I enjoyed looking at your TikToks. I'll have to go follow you on TikTok or the organization. Let's see. I don't see any more. If there are any other questions or if anybody would like to unmute or anything, otherwise we'll be wrapping up here. I'm going to drop some links one last time for you guys to
Yeah.
further explore. Yeah, and this has really just been enlightening and awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Can I put a plug in for a book?
Oh yes, please do.
So
These resources have been great.
yeah, so a lot of the information I got is from actually my supervisor's chapter, which is I believe chapter 2 in this book. But this is a book, sorry, you can see it. So a lot of our NAFWS members, I don't know how to take off like the little blur. That's probably part of it.
You know, I'm having blur things too.
You have to, it says stop video. There's a little arrow above it. If you click on that and then choose
see.
virtual background, and then it'll say
There we
none.
go.
And there you go.
Okay, so a lot of our members with NAFWS, we got together, and this is probably, I want to say, if not the only, the very few books about wildlife stewardship or wildlife management on tribal lands. So a lot of authors came together. There's some pieces of artwork, there's poems, there's talk about the different legislation issues, there's background and policy issues, there's some artwork in this book. You can get this book from Johns Hopkins University Press. And if you use the code tribal30, it will take 30% off of the total. And all of the proceeds go to NFWS to be able to fund a lot of the trainings that we have, to fund our national conference and scholarships for students to attend. Really great book. I suggest reading the first and second chapter. I wrote chapter 19 in collaboration with some people. So this is what it looks like. Tribal 30 is the 30% discount code. And the book completes with a beautiful poem by Dr. Sarah Hoagland, which is one of the few Native women foresters. So pretty dang
Awesome.
cool. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing this with us. I appreciate
Yeah.
and the code too. Everybody make sure you guys put
Get
in
the
the
code.
chat also the title of the book too. So thank you again, everyone, for coming. If there aren't any further questions, I think we'll probably wrap up here and end the session at this time. Paula, is there anything you would like to add? And as the
I would, just thank you, Ashley. Again, if anybody is interested in being a planner for us, drop your email into my my chat. And this recording will be on the Atlantic Institute SC YouTube channel. We have over 200 videos out there, so while you're waiting for this one to drop, you can look at, we do a lot of cultural stuff. We have a program we do, it's called Tour of Fates. We do a lot of educational stuff, so check it out. You can also like the channel, so when we do drop a new video, you know. Also, our Eventbrite, Eventbrite's changed things a little bit, and so we do have a lot of programs out there that we've planned through for the next couple of months and year, actually. If it is sold out, there is a waiting list, and you will still get the Zoom link if you're on the waiting list. So we had to pick a program or an Eventbrite plan that worked for us as a nonprofit. So we had to limit how many signups we could have, unfortunately. So, but you will still get the Zoom link if you're on the waiting list. So we started doing that to accommodate. But other than that, no, I want to thank everybody for coming. Thank Ashley again for sharing.
Thank you.
And if we don't have any other questions, we are done for the day, and we want to thank everybody for coming.
All right, thank you. We won't end the meeting, so it's on you to leave on your own.
Yeah, I'll stay a little bit here.